The Walking Dead makes its triumphant return with Season 4, Episode 9, After. A boy becomes a man, and we learn more about Michonne than ever before, and we get asked the question, who wants pudding? I'm Kim Horcher, and this is Brett Erlich, Tim Frisch, and John Iadarola. So we started this episode with a reminder that Herschel is dead, just to dig it in the wound a little bit.
For a second, had she not stabbed him in the face, we would have had Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker,
Brett.
which is a sports figure who is currently on Guy versus Rachel, the cooking show.
So check that out.
But what I wanted to talk about was, so in this episode we follow Rick and Carl and Michonne, and it's very much a story of a juxtaposition of isolation and loss and how they deal with it, and also growing up.
Mm-hmm. That's what I got out of it. I got the idea that this happens. I was like, oh my God, here's a thing that happens in life, and a very clear allegory that you can trace to real life from here. And I was like, oh, this is very refreshing. I can finally identify with something. That moment where you think, you know what? And everyone's like, you know what, Dad? I'm grown up, and I don't need this shit anymore.
That moment?
My dad died, so I kind of had to, you bitch.
Wow.
Just kidding. I wanted to make it awkward.
Whoa.
But no, but that's it. No, but there's that moment where it's like I could go on without you, and we watch Carl kind of realize it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you kind of see him alone in this, neighborhood. It looks almost like he's the sheriff of his own little town, and he thinks he is. I mean, with the hat, it kind of works. But then he discovers, hey, I'm a little shit. I'm not as much of a man as I thought I was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not just in that he's not developed and he's not strong enough or whatever, like you can't knock him out with one hit, but also he has terrible judgment. Like the fact that he was like walking those two walkers away, walking backwards in mud, like dude, you've tried that before and it ended horribly. Like he easily could have died there. He was reckless when he went into the second house. Like he's not prepared, and it's not just that he's not old enough. I think he might be too stupid to live on his own in the afterlife, or after the apocalypse.
To me, we've seen Carl like just as a secondary character and like little bits and pieces throughout the episode, and the general consensus is that he's a little shit. Now that he's in the forefront of the episode, it's absolutely clear he's an enormous shit and has no idea what he's doing.
He's developed. Yeah, definitely. I see a development in the character that you point out. From a prepubescent poop clump to a mid-pubescent poop pile. Mm-hmm. What an annoying
He is
soliloquy.
112 ounces of shit.
I thought those were
When you were talking about his big rant at his father.
Yes.
Well, and that's where we get beyond just the character having flaws into, I'm sorry, I know he's a kid or whatever, but he's still an actor. Like his limitations were front and center in that episode. Like he tried to deliver that monologue, and I was not buying it whatsoever. The zombies seemed interested, but that was about it.
Right. I now know what it's like, more than the zombie aspect, but now this proved to me how difficult it is to be in a situation that you really want to get out of, but never ever ends. This for them it's a post-apocalypse. For me it was his speech.
Yeah.
But did you feel anything for him towards the end when he thinks Rick is a walker and he can't bring himself to kill his father?
I didn't think
It
that
seems like
performance
he
was very good
sort
too.
of learned a lesson, maybe?
Although, think about this. I think this episode would have been fantastic if Rick did die.
Yes,
I think that's
maybe.
exactly what this show would have needed.
Yeah.
And like
could do.
Yeah,
when
I
you
think.
look back on like the pantheon of shows that are awesome, like people have this feeling about like the British Office and a lot of like BBC shows where they have the gall to have stuff happen and get the show over with in a way that doesn't feel like they're just drawing shit out. Like, and shows where people die, people can die, and that's what The Walking Dead was at a certain point, and they need to go back to that. I mean,
Some people did just die.
Oh God, but it doesn't
They just
feel
got
like
finished
enough.
off in this episode.
I know, but they had the time to like fully develop a story arc and like tied it up with a neat bow.
Yeah.
And it's like, what more can we get out of Rick and Carl?
Speaking of Rick made, I think, a fairly rookie mistake for someone who's lived so long after the apocalypse. When you're like sick or whatever, don't act like a zombie.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very dangerous.
He's not doing that on
say his
purpose.
name or something. Well, you gotta be strategic
He
about
did
this.
say, Carl, be careful after a while. Okay, since you all seem to hate that point so much, let's talk about Michonne and her journey
Wait,
and her
really
dream.
fast before
Okay,
Michonne.
fine.
Really fast,
Go.
because no. So the switching over to Carl, I think, is interesting. I think it probably is just for this episode. They wanted to show his attempt to grow up, which he's not even ready for. Like, you see him being confronted by the video games, and he's excited, but then he realizes, oh wait. But then he actually gets excited over pudding. Like, he can't even decide if he's growing up. But I think the reason they had to try that is, I don't think the show knows who the main character is supposed to be. I don't think Rick works really anymore. He certainly isn't more interested or more relatable in this episode than in the last season. He's just kind of a gruffer, more beaten up version of himself. So Michonne is interesting and even more interesting in this episode, but I don't think they know who they want the focus to be.
All this
And we're
show
switching
does,
it up
and this
next
was my
episode.
problem with the last season, the first half of this season, was they just paraphrased themselves all the time. There was nothing new in that conversation between Carl and his dad that I didn't get when they were farming, and Carl's like, I need to do this on my own. They needed to save that stupid speech that was frustrating because he's like angry and he's loud and he realizes that the zombies might come again and he shushes himself, but within like one line he's back at that same volume. Yeah. The things that speak volumes are those moments that I think worked. The moment where he's eating chocolate fucking pudding. After he feels like he's done this thing, he feels like he's said, they got my gun, not me. He needs to eat chocolate pudding, and he needs to have that moment where he looks at the wires, and that was just a great moment that shows like Mad Men have and move on. But this stupid fucking show just dwells on it and pushes the point home forever.
Yeah. Well, but I feel like they're forced into the position where they have to do that, because you can't just show them ransacking houses. Like, everybody thinks that would be cool after the apocalypse, but that would be boring. And there's no overarching plot of like trying to figure out the antidote or whatever. So you're stuck with those very human moments. But we've had 4 seasons of those very human moments, and so there's only so many different emotions you can display. I don't know. Maybe there was better stuff with Michonne.
And you can get an engine for a season, you know? From I don't know if anyone's watched like the Game of Thrones preview. They're like, immediately there will be parts of the show where things fucking happen. Mm-hmm. We won't have this slow build. I don't know anything about this season yet.
Things happen with Michonne. We finally got some answers as to her backstory via her really weird, messed up dream.
That was a great scene.
It was wonderful.
That was poorly acted.
No, it was. I really liked how she seemed to be in a different world, and you see little bits and pieces that are wrong. Like these men are slowly deteriorating. She doesn't seem to care. She's got a little baby.
She was acting weird. That was freaking me out.
She's got a knife holder for her katana on the kitchen.
Which you probably have as well.
No, those don't exist, or I would have one.
Also, you're getting really good at your katana, chopping carrots and cheese plates. Talking about overkill.
Okay, that was symbolic.
Yeah.
And the being an art snob part, I guess, was, a return to her old life. But we saw her largely regressing to the way she had been when she met Andrea at the end of season 2, I believe, where she had claimed new pets. By the way, the governor's henchman. That's another little dig. And she's walking around kind of trying to survive the way she used to survive on her own mostly, but she can't do it now.
I think that part.
That was good.
She's changed enough with these people that she's grown to love. The thought of losing them again, or the actual act of losing them again, is just too much, and she can't cope the same way she used to cope.
Okay, let's have a question. This part's called "Am I Racist?" She saw herself in that other black woman with
that was
braids,
a doppelganger.
Right? I'm not just thinking.
Yeah.
No.
That person intentionally looked like her.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I would have, if I were in charge of the show, I would have made a small. So she looks over, she sees her, and then looks away, and she's briefly not there anymore. I would have had it just been she imagined it for a second, but she was really there. That's fine too. What I liked about that whole scene. I actually liked those parts. I think better than most of the Carl parts was, like, she has this great strategy for surviving, where she can just get the pets and she can walk, and they don't even notice that she's not human. But at some point, she's doing exactly what the zombies are doing. So is she really? And so I like her little freak out. That was pretty
great.
cool.
That was, and again, that was a moment, and it happened. I didn't need them to ruin it with so much fucking talking.
She was alone, so she had that to her credit.
Bit,
Yeah, but so was Carl essentially.
Yeah.
Dad, I hate you. I wish you didn't give me this pained expression.
But we did learn that she did have a child who she lost. She had a lover who she lost. There was another man, her lover, as I said.
The implication that he killed the baby as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just, you learn so much about her and what makes her tick through there.
That she was fancy, huh?
She was
She
a
was
rich
fancy.
lady.
Who's gonna open this wine? You guys?
Yeah, that was fine. I mean, I think they definitely wrapped up both of those stories, and we see from the preview that we're going to be mixing it up for the next episode. But it's interesting that they used the first episode of the relaunch to do those two little mini, very personal stories.
Yeah,
with no idea of what the further plot is going to be.
Right. Those tiny bottle that bottle episode usually comes in the middle of the of the season.
Unfortunately, I think we're gonna get 2, maybe 3 more of those as we meet. We'll get Glenn's, we'll get the little girls that are out with.
What did we like about the
dude.
show?
Yeah.
I liked getting to the prison. I liked getting to Herschel's house. I liked that Herschel plantation or whatever the hell. I liked that season. I liked the first season because it was new and I was like, oh, I actually do like zombie stuff. But now why are we here?
I like the tension of like new people are coming into the group. Do we trust them? How can we trust? I like that stuff. I like watching the group break down. I didn't need to see it multiple times in the prison. I enjoy those things, the human connections.
I don't need to see them clear out another house again. I know everything that can happen when you clear out a
clearing
house.
out the house.
But there were 3 of those in this episode.
I know.
That seems excessive to me.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we're telling a very human story through all this, and I think that's why I like it personally. Maybe I'm the only one left who likes the show here. But I guess next week we're going to see Daryl and Beth discovering they're not alone. And maybe we'll find something Brett likes there. Come back and join us next week for Season 4, Episode 10 of The Walking Dead.